Hey everyone, Robert here, author of Expansion Mastery, the practical guide to living a fully engaged life. Are you ready to start living life to the fullest? Are you ready and willing to transform yourself and your life from ordinary to extraordinary? Welcome, my friends, to the Fully Engaged Life. Welcome back to the show, everyone. This episode brings us to the second challenge in the Earth section of Expansion Mastery. So this is the first section, which is the exoteric section of the Earth section, and this is the second practice for that. This is beyond going green, being the greenness. And I want to take a moment here. I feel this is necessary just for transparency purposes. I'm not referring to, nor do I support this idiotic new Green Deal that these insane and corrupt politicians are pushing. Okay? This is not the same thing. If you're into that, that's fine for you. Do whatever you got to do. I'm referring to something different. I'm referring to something more real and far more realistic. The idea of being the greenness here in the context of this exercise is about becoming more mindful of our connection to the earth and respecting that connection. Being the greenness is sort of a way for us to acknowledge, remain mindful of, and even celebrate our direct, intimate connection with the earth and all of the natural beauty that it provides. So the primary point here in actually being the greenness is to make sure that we are interacting with nature. Make sure that you are tending to a small garden, or a large garden for that matter. Make sure that you're planting flowers. Make sure that you plant some trees. See, it is all too common for human beings today, because we're so stuck in our head and so separate from nature, we continue to separate ourselves from nature in favor of all of this tech stuff. And the tech has a wonderful place. Without it, you wouldn't be listening to this podcast. But at the same time, nature is far more important because we are intimately linked to it. We are not linked in any way to this tech. It's an extraneous thing. And this is why the first exercise in the section was about sitting on the ground, getting in touch with the ground again, not just under our feet, but under our legs, under our butt, sitting on the ground, being one with the ground instead of rising above it all the time and feeling more and more disconnected from it. We need to take more nature walks and mountain hikes and swimming in lakes and the ocean, walking on the beach. We need to get our hands dirty. We need to get out there and work in the dirt, work the soil. We need to interact with things. We need to help plant new things and bring more life onto this planet. We need to be able to recognize and respect the importance that nature plays in our lives. My wife and I just planted herbs, so we have a little herb garden growing now on our deck. We also have succulents growing on the patio, and being from Michigan, where it's not really conducive to growing succulents, we find them really enjoyable. So we have created, out of the sliding glass window of our tea room onto the patio, we're creating this succulent garden, and we have some nice statues and lanterns out there interlaced with the plants to give it a really cool look. And that's always something that I've enjoyed about the environment out here in California is how they interlace all of these plants. Everybody's growing plants everywhere out here, and they have these statues and seats and different things interlaced with them, and it's just a cool thing. I love how they have the lights down on the ground shining upwards through the trees and through the flowers and the plants in the evening. It's just beautiful. And it's one of those things I can't necessarily pinpoint and know exactly why, but I feel that gets me inside when I see that, and I could just sit or stand and stare at that for hours on end. It feels really good, feels very familiar to me. But it's one of the things that I like about all of the landscaping out here in California. We have some beautiful landscaping, and most states, most countries have this, right? We saw some beautiful landscaping in Spain. We've seen beautiful landscaping in Japan, everywhere. This is because it's important to us as human beings. So we grow herbs, fresh herbs that we cook with. We grow these succulents. I have a couple agaves because I really enjoy the agave plants. And we have an aloe plant that we can actually use if we get some sunburn or burn from cooking dinner or something. So some of these things are beautiful. They're very cool to have nearby, but they also have functions that help us. And we do things like recycle. We try to keep nature pristine. Today, it's really common to have a sense of not only neglect and indifference, but outright disrespect for nature and throw our garbage down in the woods and things like this. It's really terrible. And we need to have more respect for our environment than we do, instead of having the consumerist attitude of just using everything up and throwing it away. Are you aware that by simply admiring, stopping and smelling the roses, simply admiring the beauty of a tree or the fragrance of a flower sends positive vibrational energy to those things and to the earth itself? Well, it certainly does, and it has an incredible effect on you as well. And look at the incredible calming effect that forest bathing brings. Nature is not only capable of healing itself, but it is capable of healing us to a great degree as well. So that's what this challenge is about. This challenge is about reconnecting to nature, to its beauty, to our connection to it, and to reestablish a high degree of respect for the planet, for nature itself. To put down the cell phone and actually walk out in nature more. To rely on nature more than man-made things. To rely on natural remedies instead of prescription drugs. Of course, you got to consult your physician on that, right? But this is the idea, is to get back to nature. To being green is to get back to a more natural lifestyle instead of moving in this direction of a technocracy. We have to take a step back and reconnect to our humanity and our connection to nature. It is the technocracy that is the real threat, and we need to choose not to participate in that, and instead return to a state where we are living more naturally. I highly recommend that you find some ways that you can interact with nature and even give your sense of respect to the planet. You do that through having a sense of appreciation for it. It's a vibrational thing that is picked up on by all of the plants around you. Okay? Any outdoor activities such as hiking, swimming, kayaking, even just going for a walk is fine. We need to get out of the house. We need to get up off our butt. We need to move. We need to get back out in nature. Plant a small garden or an herb garden and start to grow your own food a little bit as a way to appreciate nature on several levels. And it's becoming increasingly difficult to trust the quality of the foods we're getting in supermarkets. So you know what you're getting when you buy heirloom seeds and grow your own vegetables, you grow your own herbs. And at the same time, you get to work in the soil a little bit. You get to interact with these plants. You get to care for these plants and raise them so that they yield the produce for you. We have to get up off of our butt. We have to act. We have to take action. Get outdoors and plant some trees somewhere, plant some flowers, raise the flowers, raise some succulents, whatever you want to do. And if you see your surroundings are dirty, clean them up, right? We have that out here all the time. We have beach days where people gather and go out on the beach and just pick up trash. And I'm seeing more and more videos of this come through, like Facebook feed and on YouTube, where the beaches are just filled with plastic and garbage that they have to wade through to get to the water. What are we doing? How is this even possible? How are we allowing this to happen? Instead of worrying about cows farting in a field somewhere, we could better focus our efforts on not dumping our trash into the oceans and not littering all over our beautiful beaches and parks and forests, and get rid of all of this one-time plastic use crap in favor of sustainable containers. There are tons of alternatives out there. It's just that the big corporations won't allow them to offer their products because the profits are too high in plastic. So we can not litter in the first place, and then we can pick up litter if we see it around. I want to share a personal experience of this that really touched me. My wife and I were on a trip to Bhutan, and amazing, amazing country. I highly recommend it if you ever want an adventure. And we did a hike up to the Tiger's Nest Monastery. If you're not sure what that is, you can Google it. It's very famous, called Taksan, a very famous temple built on the side of a mountain. It's amazing. And we had an incredible guide. Rinzi is a friend of ours now that we stay in touch with, and this man's integrity is amazing. And he really impressed us because not only was he a wonderful guide, but he was so mindful of nature, so appreciative of nature. He also photographs birds and flowers and things too, and catalogs them. It's very, very interesting. His photography is fantastic. And when we were coming back down an incredibly steep mountain, we're coming back down from this monastery, the Tiger's Nest Monastery, he pulled out a big garbage bag. And he walked around with a stick and this garbage bag, and the entire way down, he's picking up every scrap of trash that he could find on the way down, because he took us down a route that was pretty common for tourists, one of the easier routes, I would imagine, and even that was challenging. So a lot of these tourists and people just throw their trash all over. By the time we got down to the end of the mountain, he had a massive bag of trash, and we talked to him about that and thanked him for making such an effort and such a difference. And he let us know that I think it was the previous king of Bhutan was known for riding his bicycle around the countryside with garbage bags, and he himself would stop and pick up any trash that was along the roadway. Can you imagine a king doing such a thing? How incredible is that? So much respect for the Bhutanese people. Can you imagine having a government like that? So we can take their example, and instead of littering, we can dispose of it properly. Instead of mindlessly disrespecting nature, we can protect it. Instead of continuously separating ourselves from it, we can embrace it and live in harmony with nature. One of the things my wife and I decided to do when we moved out to California is we're in a spot with a really nice microclimate. So on the average, we have really nice weather, but we do have some days where it gets hot. It's been 107, 108 out here before. And even just a week ago, we had a couple 98-degree days. Well, in our home, we have made the choice not to use air conditioning. there's an air conditioner here, but we have never once used it. Even when it's 107, we don't use it. If it's hot, then we remove some clothing and get as comfortable as we can be and just wear a pair of light shorts or something. And we accept that that is the weather condition at the moment. When it's cool, we just put on an extra layer of clothes. We hardly ever use the heat here. Now, I know that many of you live in places where the weather is a bit more extreme than it is here. It's pretty consistent here, so we're very fortunate, but it's one of the reasons we moved here. So you can't get away with that to that degree. But think next time that you walk up and go to crank up the thermostat or crank up the air conditioning, that you are making an unconscious act to separate yourself from nature. You are acting in resistance of nature, of the weather, as opposed to accepting it and being with it. And this approach we learned while we were in China on Wudong Mountain with the Taoists there that were teaching us to live with the seasons. And when those seasons are hot, then be hot. When those seasons are cold, then be cold. And learn to accept the climate and work with it instead of always having to separate yourself from it. And one of the things that we found is we're much healthier for it. And how beneficial is it for your mind to take a walk in the evening and actually stop and appreciate a small bamboo grove, the trees around your neighborhood? Maybe somebody has a lot of flowers that you can stop and enjoy, right? Take the time to do that. Instead of sitting on the couch, watching television, or playing on the computer, or looking at that stupid cell phone, we could be out interacting with, enjoying and appreciating nature, benefiting ourselves and benefiting nature at the same time. I feel that some of the best technology out there today is that which is cleaning up our environment. Look at that machine that they released into the Pacific Ocean recently that was sent out to start gathering all of the trash out of the ocean. It fills itself up and then it comes back. It gets emptied so it can be recycled and then it goes back out. It's really an incredible device. And that is how we need to use technology. We need to use technology in a way that we can fix the things we have destroyed and make sure that we change what we are doing so that we don't continue to destroy this world. Regardless of what they say about colonies on Mars and everything else, this is the only Earth we have, and it's the only Earth we will ever have. Another thing you can do is make sure that you practice your Tai Chi, Bagua, Qigong, yoga outdoors, especially barefoot, but outdoors instead of always being inside. Because as you're working with the energies of the environment, you're interacting with them, and this allows you to also connect to nature, connect to the earth, and allows you to act as a conduit between the natural energies of the heavens and earth. So when was the last time you got out and really had a nice connection to nature? Could you still live off the land if you needed to? If there weren't any supermarkets available? When was the last time you stopped to express appreciation for it? When was the last time you planted and nurtured and cared for something that you grew so you could eat it? When was the last time you picked up some trash just because it was trash and it didn't belong on the ground? When was the last time you volunteered to go out and help clean up a beach or a mountain trail or planted some trees? When was the last time you went out and got dirty, working in the dirt, really getting your clothes dirty, your hands, your face, getting dirt all over the place? When was the last time you really worked with the earth? There are so many things you can do. My wife and I took a trip down to Peru. We were in Miraflores. And when we were in Peru, we were working with our hands. We were actually working on a pyramid excavation site. And we were digging in there with our hands and brushing stuff off, pulling out artifacts. Let me tell you, we got dirty doing that job. And we loved it. It was fantastic. So you can have an adventure while you're doing these things. And let me tell you something. It's those type of things that you have done, those experiences you've had, those adventures that you have lived fully, that you embrace. When your time comes to an end here, when your life is ending, who is going to look back and go, well, I wish I could have texted more. Oh, I wish I would have watched another YouTube video. Right? No. That's not experiencing life. That's wasting it. I could carry on about all the adventures my wife and I have had in other countries where we have got to experience nature, from walking on volcanic islands in Santorini, Greece, to hiking to temples in the mountains of Tibet, to enjoying a real oasis out in the desert of South America, to enjoying the Tuscan countryside of Italy. I mean, come on. There's so many beautiful places in the world, so much beautiful nature in the world. So many other countries have incredible places to see and things to admire as far as natural beauty. And right here in the United States, we have a ton of things to see and appreciate and enjoy. My wife and I love to take long strolls on the beach by the ocean. It is incredibly rejuvenating. The view from some of these mountain tops in the area too, I mean, come on. It's just incredible. So much better than staring at a screen with a bunch of stuff that is so irrelevant that it has less than no value to us. So this is what is meant by this particular challenge of going beyond green. Please make sure and visit me at www.expansionmastery.com. That is the only place you can get your autographed copy of Expansion Mastery, the practical guide to living a fully engaged life. Get it there. You know you need it. You know you want it. And you can also get the ebook of Reinventing Yourself Through Realignment, fully revised and expanded. Really awesome book. It has benefited so many people. And soon, very soon, you will be able to get the first module of the Breathing Mastery program. That looks like there's going to be 7 modules in this set. It's going to be fantastic. I'm designing this program to be the must-have breathing program. Also, make sure you're sharing these podcasts. Make sure that you go on to our YouTube channel at Robert D. Bessler. Make sure you're subscribing. Share these things. Get it out to people. Have them subscribe. Make sure and get the real, authentic teachings out. This is the stuff that matters. This is the stuff that is real. We want to get it out in the hands of everyone we can. Make sure that you give us a little boost on social media whenever you can. Some likes, some comments, all that stuff goes a long way. And any of you that have a copy of Expansion Mastery, know that your reviews on places like Amazon and Barnes & Noble are very, very helpful and appreciated more than you can know. Until next time, my friends, I wish you the very best in all of your practices and your adventures and your life. Take care.